Ruthless Compassion is a podcast that shows you how to become fiercely kind. I'm the host, Dr. Maryska Taylor, and in each episode, I get into it with experts and regular folks about the things that get in the way of what we want. Things like addiction and mental health, isolation and loneliness, difficult family and work relationships, and the importance of self-care. I want to help you overcome the obstacles to living your best life, and I want to inspire you to become a powerful kindness warrior. Dr. Maryska Taylor, ND, is a highly sought-after naturopathic doctor in Toronto, whose mission it is to help women emerge into their authentic selves, love themselves, and heal themselves so that they can do what they are meant to do in the world. Through her blend of Eastern and Western medicines, along with her keen interest in functional and mind-body medicine, Dr. Taylor approaches each case by looking at whole person, mind, body, spirit, and creating a treatment plan tailored to the individual. Maryska graduated from the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in Toronto. She is licensed through the Board of Directors of Drugless Therapy Naturopathy and is a professional member of the Canadian and Ontario Associations of Naturopathic Doctors. She holds a Bachelor degree of Science in Kinesiology from Dalhousie University and a Master's of Theological Studies from McMaster University. She has been a DONA-trained doula since 2008 and offers her naturopathic doula services to her patients as part of her pre- and postnatal care. Welcome, Dr. Maryska Taylor.
Welcome, Dr. Maryska Taylor, to the Ruthless Compassion podcast. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, like I always like to do with my guests, my first question is always, what do you do and how did you come to do it?
It's such a big question. Could fill the whole podcast with this. So I'm a naturopathic doctor, and what that is here in Ontario, in Canada, is I went to school at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine here in Toronto, and I treat patients as a whole person. So instead of using pharmaceutical drugs to treat my patients, as in conventional medicine, I use botanical medicine, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, botanical, like herbs, and nutrition, lifestyle, mind-body medicine, functional medicine. So that's kind of the scope. It's even greater than that, but that's kind of a snapshot. And how I came to do that is quite a journey, actually. And it started with my own illness.
Really? Would you like to share anything about that with the listeners?
Yeah. So when I was 17, 18 years old, I had psoriasis. I ended up with psoriasis just on my elbows, kind of how it starts typically, elbows or knees, when I was 11. And then it went away and never came back again until I was in my late teens. And before I go into it, I want to preface that there's kind of two themes to this story that kind of run throughout, and that is authenticity and self-love. And so I was 17, 18 years old, and basically I was trying to be everything for everybody and try to do everything. My parents are amazing, but they had, always pushing me to excel. And I was top athlete. I was a musician. I was, straight A student. I was doing all these amazing things and kind of lost myself, and then ended up with psoriasis head to toe. I didn't know this at the time, of course. I didn't have this awareness, but that's, looking back now, I see that was kind of what spurred it. And went through conventional treatment, light therapy, cold tar bath, steroids, anthralin, the whole thing. My mom actually drove me to the hospital for 5 months straight every morning during the week to get my light therapy, and to get, the nurses would put steroids and anthralin on my skin. And then I would wear a sauna suit, like a nylon sauna suit under my clothes, and go to school. And did that for a while, and it went away. But then it resurfaced when I was fourth year university at Dalhousie. And I was on track to go to med school. Felt that I was interested in health and healing and the arts, and like the healing arts. And I felt that was maybe where I was supposed to go. And again, found myself kind of in the same position where I was covered with psoriasis head to toe. And when I say head to toe, I mean like over 90% coverage of my body, all over my face, all over my scalp. I had lost a lot of my hair, and it was, disfiguring. And to be a young woman and to have that was really hard on on my self-esteem. And I just remember I was so unhappy, and I was volunteering at, the Children's Hospital to, have the volunteer experience for my application for med school. And I was studying for my MCATs, and I was working my butt off so that I would have high enough marks to get into med school. And it was a lot of pressure that I was putting on myself, and I was really depressed. And I remember one night contemplating taking my own life. That's how depressed I was, and how low I had gotten. And I just felt so lost. And I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are, but at the time I just kind of prayed, just like a call of help, and just said, whatever you are out there, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, if you're real, then get me the hell out of here. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And 2 months later, I found myself in California, and I had joined a singing group and traveled the world for almost a year with them. And 2 months into that, my psoriasis was gone. And with no intervention, other than I started to read about, natural ways of healing myself, like omega-3s for anti-inflammatory, or, like taking certain things out of my diet. I started doing a lot of research. And I think a pivotal point for me was in that last semester of my university, like my undergraduate, I took a course called Mind Body Medicine. It was an elective that was just, I think, the first time it was ever offered at Dalhousie. And my background was in kinesiology, a Bachelor of Science. And it was just, I took it out of interest. And that to me was a big aha moment, because it presented a different paradigm of healing, a different way of seeing the body. And then when I went away with this singing group, and singing had always been a passion for me, but it was also a source of, I was also very vulnerable when I sang, because I would get a lot of criticism and, people meaning well, but it was such a part of me that was so near and dear to who I really am that I shut it away. So to then be with this singing group and sing every day and have the pressures and stresses off of my life and all the expectations, and I could just be me, then all of a sudden I healed rapidly. And we would be on stage almost every night, and we had a photographer who was taking pictures, and you could actually line up the pictures chronologically and see the change. And within 2 weeks, it was pretty crazy to see the healing. And it just happened with a shift. And so that it sparked something in me that I thought there has to be something else. And I adore medicine, and I have a great respect for conventional medicine, but I knew that maybe that wasn't the path for me. And then I started a master's degree in theology, because I was very interested in spirituality and how it related to health and healing. And then I did a master's. I finished my master's degree, and then I worked as a pastor for a little bit, and I kept wanting to prescribe things to people. And I thought, there has to be out there a profession where I can bring together my love for medicine and my love for spirituality and mind body, and, and bring this all together. And that's how I found naturopathic medicine.
Wow, what a wonderful story, and very poignant as well.
Yeah, it's, I really am thankful. I mean, it was really difficult. And I mean, I have the autoimmune disease, as you know, like they kind of follow you. You have to tend to them. So I've had psoriasis since then. But yeah, I think it was just such a massive turning point for me, and such a massive shift in the paradigm and how I saw things.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking earlier about how your story is about authenticity and self-love. Could you say a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, if I look at my journey and reflect, and I'm still on my journey, I mean, we always are, the biggest themes are authenticity and self-love. And when I was doing my master's degree, I was taking a course, and I loved my professor. She was amazing. And Dr. Joyce Bellows, and she would talk about gardening the heart. And that was, I think, the first time I was ever really encouraged to go within myself and do a lot of exploration, and I guess given permission to explore the journey of, or like explore my own heart. And I started to realize that, themes of people pleasing and how much that thread had played such a big part in my life. And, when I reflect on the motives for that, and I see this in my patients all the time, where everyone just wants to be loved and accepted for who they are, and we want to be loved and feel like we belong. And people pleasing kind of became my emotional currency. And so what I mean by that is I would get the love and acceptance that I so desired by being externally motivated and being what other people wanted me to be. And that took me further and further away from myself. And, one day I remember, I was married before, and I remember I was really unhappy in my previous marriage. And my brother one day, who I love and respect, my older brother, Anthony, he said to me, I don't even know who you are anymore, Maryska. Like, you don't do what you used to do. You like, you're just such a different person. Like, who are you? And that really hit me and was a catalyst for me to go within and say, like, who am I? Like, how did I get here? This wasn't really the path that I had wanted to take. And I was 25. I was working as an interim pastor, and it wasn't my life goal. And I'm thankful for the experiences, and they've made me who I am. But it was a big wake up call. And I realized I had lived so much of my life externally motivated and pleasing other people that I was really unhappy. And I decided that I was going to start this journey towards loving myself. And, it's kind of a term that's thrown around a lot, and it sounds so nice to say, like, oh, well, just love yourself. But it's actually really grueling work and really difficult to go in and kind of dispel a lot of the beliefs that don't serve you anymore and, that are false, and really just think about, I think, just go within and be internally motivated in who you are, and get still and listen to your soul and live from an authentic place. And I came to realize through my study and with my master's, and then also with my naturopathic degree, that a lot of disease, especially chronic illness, comes from a dis-ease, within ourselves, of being misaligned. Like, we're not in alignment with who we really are. And for me, I feel like that was another big aha for me, where I realized, oh, wow. And times in my life where my psoriasis had taken over my whole body, and it was so funny for me. It was never like a little patch on my elbow. I mean, when I was 11, it was, but mainly it's been like a wildfire. It just takes over, where my body was literally screaming at me saying, hey, come on, wake up here. And, it wasn't until I really got quiet and listened and tuned into myself that I really heard the messages that this is a symptom of a much larger issue. It's a physical manifestation of a misalignment, where I'm not in line and in sync with who I really am, and I'm living for others and not for me.
I love the idea of listening inside and really tuning into your authentic feelings and needs. And I think so many of us need to do that so much more.
Yes. Yeah. There was, not to get religious or anything, but I remember there was a Bible verse that kind of stood out to me always growing up, and it was, be still and know that I am God. And whether you're Christian or Baha'i or whatever your faith background is, I think that there's, just taking from that the principle of, like, just being still. And how often are we encouraged to be still now? We're not. And, turning off your phone. And we have a cottage, actually, that when we go to, there's no cell service, there's no electricity, you have to get your water out of the lake and boil it on the stove, on a propane stove. And when we go, it always takes a couple of days just to kind of shake off the city and unplug and really get still. And when I find there's often so much noise, it's hard for people to hear. You see that a lot with my patients, because I'm always encouraging them to, get still and really listen to the messages from their body, the messages from their own souls. Like, what are they really, their authentic selves? Like, I really think that we know what is causing the disease within ourselves. we just have to sit and listen.
For sure. Do you have any stories you feel comfortable to share about patients that you've worked with and how you applied that principle of listening?
Yeah. So it's really funny because I really feel like the people who are brought to me, I'm meant to work with. I'm sure you feel the same way, and I learn from them as hopefully they learn from me. And my patients, I love them dearly, and they've really helped me learn a lot about healing. And there's a few stories, obviously without mentioning any names, and I'll be kind of blurry on the details, but there's one patient in particular, her story is kind of jumping out at me, and she had psoriasis too, actually. And for years, she had been carrying around a lot of shame about something that had happened in her life. And we had been working together she had psoriasis. She also had some digestive issues happening, some menopausal stuff that was happening. And so when we first met, it was, establishing trust and working on some of these things. And I always say to people, we're going to work on the root cause. Yes, these are symptoms that are showing up, but let's work on like what's really going on and why these things are showing up in your body and in your life. And so after a couple of months of working together and, her IBS had cleared and, hot flashes were under control and she was feeling better, but her skin was not really shifting. And I just kind of had a sense that there was something going on emotionally that she was hanging on to. And I just kept encouraging her, get still, listen, what is your truth? Like, who are you really? What do you really want? And there were some patterns in her life where, she had been people pleasing and wasn't really showing up and not really her authentic self. And then it kind of happened one day that she told me something that she hadn't told anybody, and she had been carrying this around for 30 years or more. And the next time I saw her, her skin was cleared. And
wow.
And yes, we had been doing interventions, and she had been using topical steroids and stuff on her skin, but she had been using those for months and months and months and months and hadn't seen the shift. And so it was the freedom of letting a lot of the emotional baggage, or shedding the weight, like the metaphorical weight, of what she had been carrying around, that allowed her to really let go of that. And it's really fascinating, and to see that healing happen with people. And again, it's not that it's okay, well, there you go, and then you go back to your old patterns. It's then living that brave new life of being you.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you saying is that you can't separate the mental, spiritual, emotional from the physical, that we're all one being. And if we want to be healthy, we really have to integrate all those aspects, and all those aspects have to be addressed when we're looking at some kind of medical problem.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I take for granted that everyone kind of operates with that paradigm. And it's a good reminder when I have a new patient and they come in and they have really high blood pressure, or they have, horrible IBS symptoms or something. And then, yes, we talk about physically what they're experiencing, but then I educate them on the fact that, you're a whole person, and your blood pressure is high because you're under stress. But why are you under stress? And, what's happening in your life? Are you going through a divorce? Are you, do you have someone in your life that you're constantly working to please, and that's causing you a lot of emotional dis-ease? And then that's showing up in your body, as hypertension, or showing up in your body and however your genetics are going to express it. So I think it's from what I've experienced in my life thus far, I think it's really hard to categorize, or separate the mind, the body, and the spirit. So, and again, not that everyone has to subscribe to religious, faith or whatever, but just to recognize that there's that part of ourselves, that goes beyond the physical, and how that, whether or not you just want to call it your mind, but how it does influence your physical being on a daily basis.
For sure. You've mentioned people pleasing a lot, so I have to ask you, how do you see people letting go of the people pleasing problem?
Yeah, so I created a diagram that I use a lot with my patients, and if you kind of think of a line, like a horizontal line, and on one end of the spectrum is selflessness, and then on the other end of the spectrum is being self-centered, and then kind of right in the middle is what I would call selfish, and I have a different definition than most people for being selfish. And when someone is constantly preoccupied with pleasing others, they've completely let go of themselves. They're not recognizing the self, so they're selfless. And often those people are very empathetic and wanting to please, and they're really just seeking love. And as women, we often fall into that trap because, especially depending on the background, growing up, I was always taught that it was righteous. It was, a good thing to give of yourself and to please, like, serve others constantly. That was just the model that was presented to me. And often I find that patients will come in, if they're struggling with people pleasing, it's because they're operating on that end of the spectrum. And often they have people in their lives that are very self-centered, and then, the two kind of play off each other. So someone's always giving and giving, and the other person's always taking and taking. And so it's recognizing where the boundaries have been broken or aren't being respected in relationships, and then asking yourself, recognizing, I guess, where you're being externally motivated, like where you're focusing on pleasing others, and where you need to make that shift to, be internally motivated or internally focused. And that's not to then shift over to the other end of the spectrum and be self-centered, but to end up somewhere in the middle where it's the balance of the two. And I call it being self-ish, where it's, you're recognizing that you exist as a self and that you're important. And then if you truly love yourself and care for yourself, self-care is a massive part of self-love, that then you will have the reserves, you'll have the energy. Because often my patients are exhausted because, I typically see someone who's, been pleasing other people for so long, and they're so taxed, and they're just so darn tired, and their bodies are screaming at them. And it's really because they've just been so focused on everybody else. And then as soon as they shift that focus and start really loving themselves and taking care of themselves, and realizing that then you can actually give out of the abundance that you're putting gas in the tank, and then you can drive the car. You can go serve others then out of your abundance rather than your lack. And I often use the example of when I had just given birth to my son. I remember he was 6 weeks old and we were going to visit my parents. They live in Nova Scotia. And I remember it was, we were getting ready to leave Toronto, and we were sitting on the airplane, and, the flight attendant is giving the spiel of, putting the mask on yourself, the oxygen mask, before you assist someone else. And I remember thinking, I'm holding my newborn child and thinking, wow, that seems so wrong to me, because I should put it on him first and then me. And because that's how much it's ingrained in me and so many of us of, but it's wrong to do isn't that self-centered for me to do that first? But you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that then you can be alive to help others.
Exactly. And it's funny because I've used exactly the same analogy in my psychotherapy practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very apt analogy, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, just shifting back to authenticity and self-love. And I really think that when people are living out of a place of selflessness or self-centered, I'm really focusing on the selflessness today just because of the people pleasing, etc. But, you lose yourself because you're so externally motivated and focused, and then you're so unhappy. And so when you can make that shift to be more self-ish and recognize the self, get to know the self, live authentically from that place, you only get there by getting still and really listening to who you are and discovering yourself again, then that's where you come into alignment, mind, body, and spirit. And that's often where people find that their symptoms will alleviate, their dis-ease that's been causing them so much pain will then suddenly disappear.
I love the way you connect that being authentic part with being healed. And I think you're absolutely right. And so many people are worried that they won't be liked, that they try too hard to please other people. And in the meantime, they're sacrificing their emotional and physical well-being.
Yeah. And I think one of the big shifts for me personally was when I recognized that I was the source of the love that I was seeking. I was so focused on getting that love from others, whether it was, you know, pleasing my parents or pleasing a partner or friends or just strangers even, you know, just wanting to be that perfect person for everybody so that I would feel love. And I remember once I've battled with depression and here and there, and I remember once feeling so unloved and just, you know, thinking, you know, just the depths of despair. And it was like a still small voice, which I really believe is, you know, your authentic self. It said to me, but you are the love that you're seeking. You have it all within you. You don't need to go looking for it everywhere else because you are love. If you are love, you have it all within you. So, you know, I often say to people when they come to me they're, you know, whether they have psoriasis or they have IBS or they have PCOS or whatever it happens to be, you know, you are the source of your own inner healing. I'm just a guide. I can be here and I can mirror things back to you, and I can, you know, give you a botanic like medicine. I can give you acupuncture, do all these things to foster physical healing. But we're going to really get into talk about the emotional and what's happening with you, like on an emotional, spiritual level, because you have all the answers. And if you get still and listen, you know, you are the healer that you're seeking.
Wow. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I remember there was a time where I was frantically just looking everywhere, like reading so many books and jumping from one doctor to the next. And like, I would hear someone talk and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to go see them. And, oh, I have to go do this. And it was just getting still and realizing, holy cow, like it's in me. The discernment is really within me. And yes, you need others. There are people who come on your journey at certain times because they have something to offer. If they're another piece of the puzzle, they're coming in to give you information. But I really think that people don't give themselves enough credit. Like their intuition is their guide.
I was just going to say, when I interrupted you, because I was so moved, I was going to say that's really beautiful and very inspiring. And I'm sure that the listeners will be very, awed, AWED, by what you have to say. It's very awe-inspiring, you know?
Thank you.
I was wondering, what are you doing these days that you might want to share with the listeners? What are you up to?
Well, I'm actually writing a book about all of this.
Wow. Tell us about that.
It's in the very, very early stages. I mean, like I have a framework and, looking to get still, following my own advice and really just letting it unfold, naturally. So I don't really have a timeline, but I'm just writing. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, just kind of continuing to build my practice, and I'm looking to do some meditations. I find that there's often a lack of resources, specifically for things that I want to do. So I've decided just to create some myself. So I'm excited to get that project happening for the fall. And yeah, just live life with my toddler and my husband.
Sounds wonderful. If people want to find you, how can they find you online?
My website is www.drmaryskataylor.com, and that's Maryska is spelled Maryska. So they can find me there. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and they can sign up for my newsletter. I'm often sending out like recipes and, again, taking into account mind, body, spirit. So I try in my newsletters to, send out a wonderful recipe to nourish your body, something to nourish your mind, and something to nourish your spirit. So.
Oh, I'm signing up for that. Sounds wonderful. And just to end, I always like to ask the people I interview for a call to action for the listeners. What would be your call to action for them today?
My call to action is, I guess, to recognize that you are the source of your own inner healing and to love yourself, but really to get still, to listen to what is it, what's the message that's trying to come through, we're often, things are so noisy, we have so much to do, our busy lives, but get still and really listen. Is there something that, a message that's trying to come through? Whether that's through your body or something that's nagging at you, some sort of dis-ease, but get still and listen.
That sounds like a wonderful call to action, and I'm sure people will take it very seriously. Well, it's been really a pleasure talking to you today, Maryska. It's really very inspiring and very thought-provoking. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all the listeners.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Well, bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, well, that's the interview. How do you feel?
I kind of lost myself there and was just talking. I hope it was okay.
Oh, it was wonderful. I know. I was just sitting there. That's why I was like, you used the word awe, because it was like really very inspiring. And I want these podcasts to be inspiring. So yeah, I think we've definitely nailed that.
Oh, good. Yeah. I always feel so vulnerable when I start talking about it, and I think, oh my goodness. But I think it's just so important to obviously practice what I preach and live my truth. So I hope that someone, at least one person, finds that it's helpful.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't. A lot of the things you were talking about are things that I write about. I'm actually writing a book about people pleasing right now.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's called Be Kind, Not Nice. At least that's our working title. And I'm doing a whole thing with my newsletter subscribers so that people have signed on to give feedback. So I'm releasing a chapter each week, and they're giving me feedback about, change this, add that. So we're in the process right now. Yeah, I'm putting out chapter 2 this Friday, and we're doing a chapter each week. So it's really funny that that you're talking so much about people pleasing, because I'm right in the middle of this project. So it's actually really very funny and very apt.
Oh wow! I can't wait to read it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun book. I'll let you know when it comes out. It should come out, I think, in the fall, because we're gonna get all the chapters out, and then we're gonna do the final edit and hopefully have it out by September. Yeah.
And you're doing it. I remember you said you're doing it through a fictional story.
No, the fictional story is something altogether different.
Oh,
I'm writing a novel as of.
Okay, but, there we go. Yeah.
Just because there's nothing else I have to do, right? So, yeah, the novel is almost finished as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of. I feel like I'm very pregnant right now. It's like, I have twins. I have my fiction and my nonfiction, my fraternal twins I'm carrying right now. But it's funny that you're talking so much about people pleasing, because it's like right on the, that's right on the table right now. So I just find that there's a lot of synchronicity. When you're in the flow, it seems like you're going to bump into people who are thinking about exactly the same kinds of things that you are. So I just find that really cool.
Oh, me too. I'm super excited to read, to be involved. I'm going to sign up.
Super.
So it's signing up for your new, could I be a part of
Absolutely. If you talk to Julianne, my assistant, just say you want to be part of the people who get the book.
Yeah.
And look at the book, and and everyone who participates gets their names in the credit and gets a free ebook at the end. So
awesome.
Yes. Ask Julianne about that.
And I echo what you're saying. I feel the same way. It's really funny because I just did something with someone in early April, and it was, all about self-love and body love, and she's in England. And it's just so funny, how the synchronicities line up, how people are brought together. So it's not a coincidence.
No, for sure not. So you have sent Julianne your headshot, right? And your bio we have. Yep. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to get edited, and then it's going to go out in line. It's probably not going to come out till the fall anyway, which is probably good, because then your book will be, further along, probably somewhere in September, October. But we will let you know when it's coming out. We will tweet it and, post it on all my social media, and you can post it on all yours. And it's going to be really fun. And I think you did a great interview. And I find that the format works really well, just to let people talk, because then, they just kind of find they find that place inside them that just expresses their truth, and it just comes out very nice.
Great. So it made sense?
Oh, yeah, you're going to love it.
Okay,
you're going to love
great.
it.
Thank
You're
you.
going to inspire yourself. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks very much. It was really so enjoyable. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Maryska. Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
That was the fabulous Maryska Taylor, and I'm Dr. Marcia Sirota. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and review it on iTunes. You can also sponsor me on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Marcia Sirota. And please sign up for my free monthly wellness newsletter at marciasirotamd.com.